Hey guys, Pastor Jeff here with my wife Kim. Welcome back to the Brave Way podcast. We've been doing a series on dating, engagement, marriage, and seasoned marriage. We're into marriage now. This is podcast number 3 that we're doing on this topic. And today just wanted to talk about when you move from engagement, you have the wedding, now you're married, what some of the things that you should be spending that season doing actually look like. Because if you've had a good premarital counseling or you spent time in the Word, you realize that men and women are created differently.
Yep.
Marriage is only between a man and a woman because that's the way God established it. And Ephesians 5 makes it very clear what husbands are to do. They're to lead by loving their wives, by laying down their lives for their wives, loving their wives the way that Christ loved the church. And the church hated Christ. The church spit on Christ, beat Christ, crucified Christ. And in spite of all that, he still loved his church.
That's right.
And so at the end of the day, men are called to love their wives regardless. Women are called to submit to their husbands in everything and then to respect them. And so when you get married, there's this tendency to think for the other person what they need to do. You need to submit to me and respect me. To which the guy would say, well, if you loved me like that, maybe I would. Love me like Jesus. And so when you get married, those are the things that start to rub a little bit. And then you get to learn that it's impossible to live out a spirit-filled marriage without Christ at the center. So just talk about marriage and maybe some of the expectations you have going in. We tell this story all the time. I remember we went to a comedy club when we were engaged, and they were asking, are there any engaged couples here? And we quickly raised our hand, and the comedian looked at me and said, are you guys the same or are you really different?
Yeah.
And I looked at him immediately, Kim was to my right, and I was like, hey, we're exactly the same. And everybody in the whole comedy club started laughing. And he said, wrong answer, my friend, wrong answer, and just went on to talk about how we weren't the same. And
That's right.
we would look at each other like they don't get us. We love Christ. We love each other's family.
Yeah.
We have a lot of similarities in our background. We're going to be just fine. And we were right up until we got married. And then differences started to expose themselves. So talk about that. Talk about when you get married, even if you, quote, marry the right one, how there can still be challenges early on.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, obviously, I know I have a lot of things that you were probably surprised about. But I think the thing that I loved the most about you, one of the things, obviously, I love your faith in Christ, but I love how bold you are and strong you are. But then once we got married, when you started becoming strong with me, I was like, ooh, I don't like that.
Right. So what you valued about me the most was actually hurtful to you when it was directed at you, right? I think it's totally fair. And my response early on was always not the best. I'm like, well, that's just the way I am.
Yeah.
This is how I talk to people. I'm not unloving. I'm just bold. Right. And I had to learn, if you were saying this is hurting your heart, then even if I'm quote unquote, that's just the way God made me, then that's not just the way God made me. And so I can be bold in what I say, but I can do it in a loving way. Right. And so you have to learn how to do that. And like for me, one of the things I love about Kim, and she's this way to this day, is her spontaneity. I love your spontaneity. You're fun. You've always been fun. You would drop anything at a moment's notice to spend time with me. And the reason you do that is you value fun and you value relationships.
Yeah.
And when we got married, I thought it was, okay, that was when we dated. Now it's time to grow up. Like, be on time. And so I remember one specific Sunday, we were getting ready for church, and I said, let's go. And you said, from the bathroom, you said, I'm ready. Well, no, you're not, because ready to me meant that you were sitting in your seat and we're pulling out of the driveway, and it was still another 7 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was so irritated. I think we didn't really talk much on the way to church. I was mad when we got to church because if we're a minute late, I don't even want to be there anymore. But it was who you are. It's who I married. It's what I loved, but I didn't love it when it was expressed in a way that was hurtful to me.
That's right.
And so I've had to learn, over the years, and I have, that, God values relationships more than he values time.
Yes.
And, when he started showing me that, he's like, this is how I made Kim. She values relationships. She cares for people. If she's home late, it's because she bumped into somebody at the store and she was showing them love, and you need to value her for what she does.
Right.
And so I think those are some of the things.
And I had to grow too,
right?
Because I realized there's certain things I absolutely have to be on time for, like this podcast. And so I was here
and
right
you were
on time.
You were on time. I was checking it out.
I know it feels unloving to you when I'm not. So that's something I've learned.
Yeah. And I think the thing we would say is there's constant growth. Like you never get to a place where you plateau in your marriage where it's like, oh, we've arrived now. We totally
right.
get each other. And so I would say, one of the things about new married couples that we encourage and that we love is continue to be honest with each other.
That's right.
Even when it's painful or even when it's hurtful. It's important to deal with the things that come up early on, because without knowing it, just being yourself, you can hurt the other person.
That's
or they
right.
can hurt you.
Yeah.
And if you just shelf those or brush them under the rug, they're going to come out later.
Yeah.
We were talking before we did this podcast, just people that we know who've been married 30 years. Several couples have been married 30 years. Now their kids are raised. Now they're out of the home, and now it's like we have nothing in common. We're divorcing because I don't want to live the rest of my life with you.
Right.
And it's because they didn't deal with things early on. So how would you tell people, like, how do you have those fights without fighting? How do you fight clean in a marriage? Because, we both learned early on we could win an argument and then wound one another, and then we lose.
Yeah.
So you can't win by domineering. You can't win by acquiescing and just say, well, whatever you want's fine.
Yeah.
You win by coming together. So how do you fight clean?
Well, choose your moments correctly. I know that when you're getting ready to prepare for a sermon, or even after when you're exhausted, that is not the time to bring up anything. I think, the timing is important, being willing to listen to the other person and not just come across as I'm right, you're wrong, and praying together.
Yep. Praying's huge.
Yeah.
And then I think our personalities are such, we have very different personalities. My personality is such, if there's a problem, I want to deal with it, get it done and over with now. So if I've got a problem, it's painful to me to let it sit. You're one that likes to process for a while and make sure that what you're thinking is accurate, and then let's have a discussion later. Yeah. And so we found that I'm very loving to Kim, I'm very loving to you when I'm upset, but I'll take time to pray about it, or I'll say, hey, there's something I want to talk to you about, but I want to give it some time so I can really think about what I want to say. I feel like Kim is very loving to me when you're in moments where you feel something, and in the moment you're like, this frustrated me, this upset me.
Yeah.
Because you're always afraid you're going to say something unloving, and I always tell you, it's impossible for you to be unloving. And I'm always afraid that I'm going to be too bold, and I gotta back it up a little bit. So, as Kim submits to Christ, submission's the opposite of control. I think you're very submissive when you're very bold in what you say. I think I'm submissive when I kind of take a step back and, process, what am I really going to say? Is that going to be hurtful in the moment? Is she going to interpret that right? And so it's learning each other. And if you really value the other person, which is what marriage is all about. So if I value Kim, it's not about me being the leader. It's about me preferencing her and laying down my life for her. And if I really want to elevate her, how can I bring this to her in a way where she's not going to be crushed by what I say? Right. How can I do it in a way that says, hey, this is just something that was hurtful, or can I talk to you about this? Would this be a good time? And vice versa, because you're valuing the other person. So you're not trying to win, because remember, we've talked about it. When you're married, you're one. And so how you fight is you fight for this. You fight for oneness. So I'm fighting for you, not against you. And the Bible says in Ephesians 6 that our battle is not against flesh and blood. Kim is not my enemy. I am not her enemy. But we do have an enemy that wants to divide us. Yes. And the best way to fight is when I'm fighting for this. I'm fighting for us to succeed as one. And if I have that in mind, if you have that in mind, then whether it's kids or money or health or family or extended family or what, if we're fighting for this, then we can get through any of that. If we try to take an individual approach to fight about money, or individual approach to fight about how we're going to discipline or raise our kids, or how we're going to handle vacation time or money, whatever it is, we're going to lose every single time, because the enemy brought us together to be one.
That's right. And I think prayer saved our relationship early on. And it's so important to pray for God to change you, not your spouse, and to change your heart, because both of us wanted to change each other at the beginning, and we were really having a hard time. And I learned through a book, The Power of a Praying Wife, that it's so important to pray for your spouse and to write out prayers for your spouse, even when you're angry and frustrated.
And talk about your one experience reading that book.
I don't know what the fight was about, but we were really frustrated with each other. And I grabbed the book and I had to write out a prayer for you. And I was like, I am not doing that. And I threw it across the
Threw the book across the room. Yep.
across the room. And then I was like, no, I am doing that. Got the book, went down on my knees, started praying, writing, and
I think you're exactly right, because people will see us now on a Sunday. Somebody took a picture of us this last Sunday because you had your hand on my back and you were praying over me, which you do all the time. And they kind of think, well, they've always been like that. And early on for us, it was a massive struggle because I think both of us expected it to just kind of click.
Yeah.
And we loved each other, but it was not clicking at all.
No.
And it was very, very painful for both of us. You were feeling hurt by me. I remember one time, I'm a coach by nature. We had just gotten a new stove, and I remember you were boiling water one night, and I just kind of walked by because one of the things was a boiler. It was just a bigger flame, and I said, hey, you can move it over to that one. And your response was, you don't think I know how to boil water? And I'm like, what are we talking about? Like, I'm not even trying
that was accumulation of things that happened over the day.
Where you felt I was coaching you and telling you what to do and all, and I didn't mean to.
Right.
And, and there were things that would cycle like that. And so we tell people now is what used to be kind of a 5-day argument is more like 5 minutes or 5 seconds now where we can,
we know each other now.
We know. And
I think and
we understand the love that we have for each other, and we've been through things.
Right.
And so early on, I would say, don't be afraid if everything's not clicking, because there's this false narrative. You see people go to church, you see their arm around each other, you see their hand on their back, you see, you make this false assumption like things have always been this way, and everything this week has gone that way. And there's no way you can have two sinners that live under the same roof and not have friction from time to time, even after you've been married for a while, which we're going to talk about in the next podcast. But as an early married person, it's okay to get counsel from people that do well.
That's right.
Like one of the people we got counsel with told us, hey, when you go on a date, you can't talk about kids or your job.
Which is hard to do when you have kids.
And that tends to be all that we do, all that we
and
did.
We work together,
But we never talked about any of those things when we were dating. We just talked about dreams and hopes and desires and the love we had for each other. And so we shifted what we did so that we could date and prefer each other. And here's what I would say to everybody, regardless of the season that you're in marriage, you have to preference one another. And it's really important that your spouse knows what your preferences are.
Yeah.
That this is how you feel loved.
That's right.
Because I tell guys all the time, there can be a million different ways that a woman can experience love. I don't care about a million different women. I care about one woman. Right. How do you experience my love? How are you recharged? And I know you well enough to know time and touch are important to you. So if we have a date where we're sitting close to each other and you just get to hang with me and there's no phones and we're just talking, I mean, for days after that, your tank is filled because without distraction, you had all my attention, and all we did was sit and talk, listen to each other, and you're so filled up. And so it's important for us to have those kind of dates.
That's right.
Other people experience love and express love in different ways. It's important for them to have that kind of date.
I was going to talk about that, the love languages, which yours is words of affirmation. And so I have had to learn to get better at that over the years. We have a daughter that's amazing at it.
She is.
And I've realized I think good things about you all the time, but I need to verbalize them.
And we say this, and I like the love language book like you do. The reality, it doesn't make me a victim like, hey, you owe me this or vice versa.
It's just a way of loving each other well.
But usually whatever your spouse's love language is probably what you do the worst, right? So like my words of affirmation, acts of service, just speak kindly to me and just do good stuff.
Right.
And yours is time and touch, and I didn't even know time was a love language. So, at the end of the day, like we talk about this, and I'm going to tell the story wrong, so you can correct me when I tell it wrong. But I had been gone for about 2 weeks, not realizing time is your commodity of love. And so we talked on the phone. And while we did, you were giving me words of affirmation. This is shortly after we're married. I'm traveling. I'm speaking at different places. Yeah. And so every day I'm hearing from you. I'm getting words of affirmation as to how great I am. And you're at home and our house looks great. You've been serving me. Yeah. You're giving me words of affirmation. So I falsely think like everything's great. I come home, and I think very shortly after I got home, I think I got on my phone. I hadn't spent time with you yet. And well,
you still were busy. You had things to do the next day. We weren't taking time to do dates. We weren't spending time just talking like we did when we dated.
Because in my tank was full.
Yeah.
Like I didn't realize your tank was empty. And I was absolutely shocked when I got home that night. I've been home for like a half an hour. You're like very mad at me. And I'm thinking, I didn't even do anything. I just got here. What's going on? And I think you even had a hard time articulating exactly why you were so mad, because it was so obvious to you that here you are gone for 13 days and you come home and you're on your phone and you're still working. It was kind of a slap in the face to you. Like, you don't even preference me when you see me. And for me, it was like, oh, I thought we were good. Like, I thought. And so I think it's really important that you're able to share with your spouse how your tank gets filled,
Right.
and what that looks like and what
Right.
that means, because we just falsely assume the other person's going to get it.
That's right.
Right. And I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And you didn't get it.
No.
And so, but as we talked, when we could sit down and say, hey, you're not my enemy, you're my friend.
Right.
And I love you. I don't know what I did wrong. And you help me understand how I can get better. And you're really willing to work on that for each other. It's good. It's a good thing.
That's
and
right.
I think you highlighted this too. And I'll talk about it as well, because I think for a lot of couples, I think, well, the wife's the prayer. Men don't pray. Prayer changed our marriage, because I think at the same time, like I didn't have the Power of a Praying Husband book. I don't know if one's been written. I had the Bible.
There is, actually.
Is there? Okay.
I think so.
But I knew how to pray. And I remember my prayers shifted from, like what you were talking about, like, God, change Kim and make her more like this. And my prayers totally shifted, like, God, this isn't working and I can't change her. But if you can change me, I don't even know what I need to do, but can you help me? And I think you were praying those same prayers at the same time, and it was God's sovereign grace in our life. And here's what I would say to people. Like, when we got married, I mean, we were so in love. We were so excited. We went on our honeymoon to Hawaii. Everything's bliss. And then we got back and it was like, man, this is really difficult. It was a lot of friction. But when God took us through that season where we were praying, in very short order, all the feelings came back.
That's right.
As God was changing us. And I've learned, I think this is the greatest lesson I've learned in marriage, especially early on, that I've continued to instill, is that God is for marriage. But if I'll go to God and try to get him to change you, he's pretty silent on that. But if I go to God and say, hey, what do you need to change in me? And so what I tell young couples is pay attention to what it is that bothered you. So for instance, as a young husband, if I felt like I wasn't respected, and I'm going to God and saying, man, teach her to be respectful. It's the wrong prayer. The prayer that I began to pray was, Lord, have there been times in my walk with you where you don't feel respected by me? Now, if you're going to pray like that, be ready for the Bible study.
That's right.
It was like a download of, here's all the ways that you don't respect me. And then I was like, Lord, teach me to respect you like that. And then the more I began to respect the Lord, I just noticed that Kim would just respect me, right? And so I think if you can take the things that bother you to the Lord, and instead of saying, change that about them, that's so wrong. Because usually what we see in counseling is it waits till it gets to a place of just complete tension. And then the man's saying, well, she's this way, and she's saying, well, he's that way. If you can get out of that mindset and be like, even if she is this way, I'm called to love her. Lord, this really bothered me. Lord, have I ever acted that way towards you? You're going to get a Bible study. Yeah. And as you work on that with you and the Lord, he can take care of your spouse.
That's right.
And so that's where prayer becomes huge.
Praying that at the same time.
Were.
Yeah.
We were.
For God to change us, not the other person.
And even to this day, it's not funny in the moment, but it's kind of funny because we recognize if we're being fleshy or selfish or, whereas before we didn't. So
if it's the enemy, if it's warfare. I mean, if I'm snapping at you right before you're getting ready to preach, I'm like, oh my goodness, that's the enemy using me in your life. So I apologize right away.
Right. Or I know, like, we keep talking about right before I get ready to preach because it's almost like clockwork. But I can be irritated during those times where it's like, okay, now's the time to really tell her. And I'm like, it's not the time to say anything. I know it's me. I know. And so you kind of learn those kind of things in seasons. But up front, I would say to a young couple, I think young couples falsely think everybody except them is doing great. Yeah. Because the enemy's going to lie to you. He lies to you before you get married, like, hey, you're not one, but you should live as one because you guys really love each other. Right. The lie that starts the moment you say your I do's is, it'd be better if you could kind of live apart from each other. You have your guy night, she has her girl night. Do more separately. Yeah. Because there's a division that he wants to make happen.
That's right.
And so as you fight for oneness in your marriage, that's where God begins to do special things. But the way that he lies is he tells young couples, hey, everybody else is getting this.
That's right.
They're happy. Remember when you had those 3 couples over for dinner? Look at how happy they were. They were holding hands. They're laughing. You don't do any of that. It's a total lie. And if you can work on the things individually that God's asking you to work on for the sake of oneness, God can restore everything and do great things.
Yes.
Because and if you view marriage the way that we did, which was great, is that marriage is permanent. So divorce isn't even an option.
Right.
Like, it's just not an option. Like, we can hate each other, that's an option, or we can figure out how to love each other, that's an option, but there is no out.
Right.
Like, we don't get an out.
That's
God
right.
doesn't give us that option. And so with that, that's where you can really begin to say, okay, then let's make this thing go. And that's why I can just tell you this. You have to be part of a local church. You have to be involved in what we call cadres here at Brave, which some churches call small groups. You got to be in community with other life-giving relationships that can speak in, because sometimes it's, my goodness, I don't know that I can have this conversation with my wife, or I don't know that I could have this conversation with my husband. And there's a couple that says, we need to have you guys over for dinner.
That's right.
And all of a sudden, they're able to sit across and bring some levity to a situation or some humor.
Yeah.
Because I would say that's important too,
It's
right?
so important.
Because if all you're doing is like, we're working on our marriage, I mean, it gets wearisome. You got to laugh together too.
That's right.
You
Well,
gotta
and
have
we
fun
did
together.
post counseling after
Post-marital counseling.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we still met with our advocates and laughed with them, had dinner with them, and learned from them.
And to be candid.
And they're also in the ministry, so they're living for the Lord. It was
great, but it was hard too.
It was still hard, but
because
it's what we needed.
Post-marital was harder than premarital. Premarital, we checked all the boxes.
Yeah.
Post-marital, we were both frustrated when we went. And I remember one night we left and we were pulling away, and I remember you looking over to me saying, finally, he nailed it tonight. Well, it was on me. I was just like so mad. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ever going back. But I went back. And the next time we were there, it was the opposite.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, man, I know he said everything she needed to hear. And you got in the car and slammed the door and you were like, I'm never coming back to this. I'm like, that was the best one we ever had.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that you have other people in your life.
That's right.
Because when it's personal to you and God's calling you to change, it's very painful and hard.
Mm.
But marriage, again, it's not about our happiness. It's about our holiness.
That's right.
We've heard people say that all the time. It's not original to us, but it really is. It's a sanctification process in our identity. And I know, and you know, we both know that I'm a better man because of the 2 decades plus that I've spent with you in my life, speaking into my life.
Heavenly sandpaper.
I was just going to say that. And you are too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and so
we've roughed out the rough edges in our lives. Yeah.
So, and it's interesting because
or smoothed out.
We smoothed them out. Yeah, but like the boldness that was hurtful to you. You're more bold now than you were when we got married.
Absolutely.
You're
more tender now.
I am.
You are.
Having daughters.
Well, you have daughters. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but at the end of the day, I think, you know, as you see each other and appreciate each other, it's just cool. Like, I'll tell you the story. I think the first time we ever did a Bible study, we got in a fight, I think, because we were studying a psalm.
You say fights. It really wasn't. You were just frustrated.
I was frustrated with you because we were doing this Bible study, and I asked you what you got out of it. And I never forget your response. You said, oh, that was beautiful.
We were talking about the Psalms.
Yeah, we're talking about the Psalms.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you said, that's beautiful. And I'm like, beautiful. I'm like, what does that mean? I'm thinking about writing papers and you can't write that's beautiful. Like, what'd you get out of it exegetically, all this stuff? And so I'm like, this is going to go nowhere. And it kind of ended and I was frustrated. I'm like, we can't even do a Bible study together. And I was mad. And I was like, we can't.
You're fresh out of seminary.
Mm-hmm.
You want me to exegete the passage.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was really funny the way the Lord works. So it was within a week. We lived in Central Illinois at the time, and the corn had been cut, and there was a sunset going down over the horizon, one of those big orange suns. And I remember I said in my heart, I'm like, wow, that's beautiful. And the Lord spoke to me. He's like, that's how Kim sees everything. And I put her in your life so you could appreciate more of what I do. And I came home and apologized to you, right? Because you see things in the Word I don't see. You see things in life I don't see. And so when we learn to appreciate each other and value each other, that's when our marriage really began to take off and sail and soar again. And a lot of the emotion that we had prior to getting married came back. The feelings come back. They'll catch up. And so just to encourage you, you know, as a newly married couple, when you're just starting out, don't think everybody else has got it right. Don't think you have to get it all right. Just continue with the Lord. Ask him
That's
what he
right.
needs to change in you and preference the other person, and God will do great things.
That's good.
Amen.
Amen.
Well, next time we get together, we're going to talk about seasoned marriage. Those who've been married 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Like, how do we continue to stoke the flames that God would have for us? Hope this is helpful to you. If you're a young married couple, we love talking to young married couples. We love what God's doing in and through your life, and he's for your marriage. So hopefully that's helpful. Until next time we see you, know this from our hearts to yours, that you are loved.